Joining us now is Democratic Senator Michael Bennet of Colorado. He's a member of the Finance Committee, and he's running to be the next governor of Colorado.
Senator Bennet, someone who's no stranger to these budget fights in Capitol Hill and other places. I guess we hear a lot about the Republicans who are expressing concern in the press and privately. Have they expressed any concern to you?
I think it's a little bit too little, too late, as far as I'm concerned. They're hearing from their constituents, as I did last week when I went home, that it makes absolutely no sense to cut Medicaid. I mean, in urban Colorado and rural Colorado, I'm hearing the same things. In the deepest, reddest parts of my state, this won't surprise Michael, I think, from his old life. In the deepest, reddest parts of my state, people are saying, we already have nobody to provide OB services. We have hospitals that are going to close. There is no waste, fraud, and abuse when it comes to the people that are actually on Medicaid. This is the last social safety net we have for people in rural. And then I was the superintendent of schools in Denver, and most of the kids that were in my school district for years and years still are kids of color, still kids living in poverty. Their parents are working 2 and 3 jobs just to get their kids ahead. And now the Senate Republicans are going along with a plan with Donald Trump to slash that social safety net. We should be talking about how to make our healthcare system better in this country, not cutting it out from under the most vulnerable people in our society.
There are a lot of conversations we should be having in lieu of the ones we are having today, and yet here we are finding ourselves on defense, defending years of progress. Can we pull up that tweet from Senator Mike Lee? Federal spending has become excessive. The resulting inflation harms Americans and weaponizes government. The Senate can make this bill better. It must now do so. What's so interesting to me is Republicans in your chamber can't seem to agree on what would make this bill better. You have the deficit hawks who are fixated on the deficit, which I agree in this moment is something that needs attention. But then you have folks who say, wait a second, you've cut clean energy programs that are benefiting my state. I recognize I'm up next year. These Medicaid cuts are going to be catastrophic, not just for my constituents, but for my own political outcomes. Do they even together as a caucus have a theory of the case on what makes this bill better?
I think there is no theory of the case at all. I think the only thing Donald Trump cares about is pushing through his tax cuts for the wealthiest people. That's what he is fixated on. And he was willing to assemble whatever coalition in the House he needed to get one vote. Now it's in the Senate. People in the Senate are saying, some of them are saying, wow, I don't want to cut Medicaid. Some are saying, we're cutting it not enough. Some are saying, what about these energy tax credits? I mean, Trump, but you know, Trump is literally destroying our solar industry, our wind industry before our eyes. That's also something that's really important to rural Colorado. But he's taking a sledgehammer to that. And then there are other people who are saying, well, you know, we want to do everything we can to protect the oil and gas industry. And then they're having a fight about the size of the legislation. So I think that what you're seeing is the basic corruption of Donald Trump that really is only about those tax cuts. He could care less about most of the rest of this stuff. But they put together a bill in the House that was to satisfy the House. Now in the Senate, they're going to have a hard time passing it, I think, at this point, just because of how screwed up the whole thing is.
A bill in the House that turns out a bunch of them didn't read, or at least did not comprehend.
That's not surprising. They never read the bill. I don't know when. I mean, you probably would know better than most of us. The last time anyone read the bills that are put in front of them to really assess the full impact of their decisions. I give you the tweet from Marjorie Taylor Greene, who says, I am adamantly opposed to this, and it is a violation of state rights, and I would have voted no if I known this was in there. This needs to be stripped out in the Senate. What she's talking about is she didn't know the bill would block states from passing AI laws for 10 years. You know, here's the thing. You have a high level of incompetent individuals who now serve in our United States legislature, House and Senate, who, to be honest, should not be there. So I blame you, America, for that because you voted for it. All right? So really, that's the bottom line. The government is an extension of us. You are in the United States Senate. You're going to be running for governor. You're going to have to vote on this, work through all of this crazy and then translate it back at home. Here's the difference between what Washington does and what the rest of America does. Republicans, in the tweet that you referenced, they're focused on federal spending, excessive, resulting in inflation. There's no real connective tissue to what people don't live their lives in the context of federal deficits and debt. There's a downstream impact. What they're concerned about right now, Senator, is this moment. You've got moms out there right now calculating how much milk they can buy for the rest of this month.
That's right.
They've got dads out there calculating whether or not the small business they're running for their family is going to be around come the fall. There are a lot of real life matters that are in front of people. Why is it so hard for folks to translate on the Democratic side, for example, that into an actionable item for the American people? And we saw the result in the 2024 cycle.
That is such a phenomenal question. Let's take health care. You know, I had conversations last week with people at Denver Health, which is our public hospital, doctors who are saying that they were in their emergency room. They get people over and over again. There was one who had a heart attack because he wasn't on insurance for 6 months. He couldn't take his meds. He shows up with a heart attack in Denver General. That doesn't happen in any other industrialized country in the world. This is the only country in the world, the industrialized country in the world, where that happens because we have a healthcare system that costs twice as much as any other advanced nation, and it doesn't cover everybody. You know, I've got people in my state that are on Medicaid who are going to lose out because of this. We also have a lot of people who are making just enough money so they can't be on Medicaid, but not enough to be able to afford insurance. They can't pay for their kids' insurance and pay for the rent and pay for the food that you're talking about. And unfortunately, in the last election, Donald Trump preyed on that economic insecurity, and what he has offered as a result is chaos. We need the Democratic Party, which has been repudiated, in my view, in the last election, to come back with a program on health care that's going to help relieve people's burdens at home with an education platform that's different from free college, but it's about kids getting through high school and being prepared to earn a living wage, not just the minimum
wage. Because not every kid's going to college.
Exactly, right. And we don't have that in this country. In fact, reading scores today are worse than they were 20 years ago. Now, we're not going to get any of that done as long as Donald Trump is there. We have to push back. We have to fight this. But we also have to have a positive vision for what we can do and where we can lead the country. I could not agree with you more. They are trafficking in the idea that this place, I'm pointing over to the Capitol, this place will never, ever fix their problems, and therefore the vote is to blow it up, to create more chaos. And that hurts people in the end. And Donald Trump doesn't care about that. We have to care about that.
You guys, Democrats, got to be that lifeline for a lot of Americans out there. Senator Michael Bennet of Colorado. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate you. Coming up.